section of the workshop is the 3 necessary conditions. 3 necessary conditions. To learn it well, remember and understand it, and use it effectively. So the first necessary condition is that everyone learns it. Everyone in our group learns it. Maybe some of us learn it now, and others learn it later. But what I want to prevent and avoid is that some of us are enthusiastic and we've sort of semi-agreed we would use it. And then there's people in our group that haven't learned it. How are they supposed to learn it if they haven't learned it? How are they supposed to use it if they haven't used it? Not to mention which, it's in a different paradigm. A different paradigm? Yes. Here is voting of any kind. And here is sociocracy. Different paradigms. Here is, sorry, my circle is getting a little wonky. Here is consensus, either modified or the classic kind. Here is sociocracy. It actually takes a paradigm shift from one to the other. They have different purposes. They have different things you do. They have different energies and vibes. They're not similar. Really, they're not. The co-author of the book, We the People, Sharon Delines, who lives in a community, will say that consensus and consensus as you're making are the same. But I don't see it that way at all. I'm a long-time consensus trainer, facilitator, and advocate, in 22 years using it. Boy, are they different in my opinion. Okay, so it's a different paradigm. So if we have been using consensus decision-making for years in our group, and some of us are wanting to use sociocracy and are using it, we who are using consensus and know it well and are inside the paradigm of it, which is a perfectly fine paradigm. I'm not putting it down. I'm just saying it's a different one. We are going to view everything we see through the lens of consensus, don't you think? And then when the facilitator is doing this or that thing and not doing certain things we're used to, we're going to think the facilitator is an autocratic dictator, Nazi, fascist, bully person, because I'm raising my hand and I want to speak and I want to speak now. I want to speak now. And then the facilitator needs to gently let me know that we're not at that part of the steps yet. And in fact, if we want to have a discussion that's open, I have to propose that we do, name an amount of time for it, like 10 minutes or 5 minutes. We have to get consent of the circle members that we want to not do normal sociocracy at that point, but insert a timed with a little timer discussion. And then we do or we don't, depending on if we consent to it. Well, I'm going to be confused because I'm wondering why the dictator is doing all those things and not like letting me talk. The facilitator looks bad. When the facilitator of a circle is the person in the room who knows the most about sociocracy, and many other people don't, it can be a disaster. When we get to telling you more about the 5 meeting processes, I'll tell you some little stories about how that got all wonky and didn't work at all. Okay, so everyone learns it. So I have a suggestion when some people can't learn it right then. We make an agreement between ourselves, our group, and that person. Each one of them, not the whole group of people who haven't learned it, but each individual person, Jack and Joan and Sue and Ben. And we write in the agreement, I understand that we're now using sociocracy for some period of time as an experiment to try it. And I know that I will be learning it at some point. I will learn it as soon as I can. And I will not try to stop the facilitator from doing what she or he is doing. I promise not to. It says so right here. I promise not to. Signed, me. And I get a copy, and the group gets a copy. I can only do this in the US. Nobody else knows what I'm talking about. And what that means is that I have agreed not to mess it up. I have agreed not to sabotage it on purpose because I'm annoyed, because it isn't the consensus for which I joined the community, because I belong to the consensus religion. By the way, back in the 60s, I joined the consensus religion. I became a born-again consensualist. We had three very cool things in the 60s, which was sex, drugs, and rock and roll. What was the fourth, ladies and gents? Well, it was consensus. It was almost as cool as sex, drugs, and rock and roll, but maybe not as cool. Nevertheless, we all embraced it and became fundamentalist consensualists. Do you recall if anybody's in their elder years like myself? Okay, and why did we? Well, because it seems so much better than the boss decides, and it seems so much better than majority rule voting. And so I joined a community that did it, and because I am absolutely certain that it's the best thing there is, I know very well that we shouldn't do anything else. And I'm in that meeting like this, because we're using this socio whatever the hell it is, and I don't like it. I might very well want to consciously try to force us back to using what is better because I know what's better. Have I studied sociocracy? No, and I'm not going to either. I don't like it. And so that could be happening. But also inadvertent sabotaging, meaning I don't know why the facilitator isn't calling on me now, as you will see when we get to the meeting processes. So my suggestion is that we help the whole group not have conflict by asking the people who haven't learned it yet to learn it when they can. And in the meantime, please go along with the flow. Now, there's something you should know. We do not, as a group, start from here, we're all using consensus or some other method, and then decide we're going to use sociocracy from now on. We do not do that. Why? Well, why would we decide to use a thing we haven't tried? Lauren, what do we do instead?
Well, what we did is we sent 2 people to learn it very well. We came back and presented what we had found to our group. We got the consent of the group to try the process out. We duplicated all the materials we'd been given, and we started with the 2 steps that you suggested we start with, and the group agreed to learn it over 18 months, to practice it during the time, and to ask both the trainers and you for feedback along the way. Oh, and when we first went back and taught it to the group at our retreat, we also got 2 or 3 other members who wanted to take the training, so there would be a larger group of people who knew the whole thing.
Great. Sometimes the whole group will learn it. In the case of the community that Lauren is talking about, 2 out of maybe 14 folks learned it and came back and taught them in one of their 3 or 4 day community retreats. They agreed to use it for 18 months. And what I'm looking for here is that piece, that the group does not decide, okay, we're going to switch in midstream to this whole new thing that we hardly know what it is yet. Instead, the group says, we're going to try it. I recommend 2 years or 18 months. Baja Biosana in Mexico, near La Paz, agreed to try it for 2 years. Emerald Village agreed to try it for 18 months. Pioneer Valley Co-Housing agreed to try it for 18 months. At the 17-month period, Pioneer Valley Co-Housing did a survey of all their members, a very well-created, tabulated, collated survey with actual bar charts and data. They found that almost everyone loved it except for 3 folks. Now, you can guess and think about, they used consensus for 20 years prior to that. Who would the 3 folks be? I won't say more, because what if they ever watch this video? Okay, and everybody loved it, wanted to keep it. So then they decided, with a proposal that they consented to, that they were going to keep it. But they didn't go from, we use this, now we're going to keep that. They went from, we use this, now we're going to try that. If we like it, we'll keep it, and if not, we'll go back to what we did before. Do you see how this helps a group be willing to try it? We only try it. Why? Well, think of all those proposals we make. We're trying them because we have feedback loops. And that's what we do when we agree to try sociocracy. Okay, so everyone learns it. And here we go. Use all 7 parts. Please use all 7 parts. Please do not throw out the seat, the brakes, the pedal, the front wheel. Please don't do that, the liver, because I want it to work for your group. So why not use all the parts that flow together beautifully, mutually reinforcing each other, like a well-designed permacultural landscape. And the last one is, please use it as designed. Please use it correctly. Well, you already know that is catch-22. What I really need is, please learn it with a structure that I'm going to give you that comes from my permission to change the structure on top of John Buck's creating some structure, since we wanted to give you something easier to learn than 4 principles. Okay? So please use it as a I give you the structure for. Use it correctly is how I say this. I have to be careful because it's not actually correctly exactly. There is no definition of correctly. So I'm just going to say, please use it correctly as a shorthand, and you'll know what I mean because I have to be honest with you. So I'm being honest, plus I'm also saying, yo, do what I said, please. And then if you decide you would like to change it in any way, for goodness sakes, go ahead. But give it a trial period of 18 months to 2 years. So that's the 3 necessary conditions. Later I will tell you some stories about communities thriving with it and communities that have had a horrible time because they didn't have everybody learned it. They used only some of the parts, and they used it as a hybrid with consensus. A hybrid with consensus is the worst.
So you're really talking about using it as tested, right? Not just
Yes!
design. You're really saying use it as tested.
She's an engineer.
So, right, so if you say use it as tested, then you don't have to say.
I
there's nothing
love it.
incorrect about it.
All right, that's what I'm going to say in my book that I'm now writing.
Yeah, use it as tested.
Thank you so much, Sarah.